the Arque Experience. Hello, Roger.
Hello, Arque.
Are you ready for your questions?
Yes, fire away.
If you ruled the world, what would be the first thing that you changed?
Everything. I would, I would change the values of the world. In vegan terms, the first question that we ask, this is a bit kind of anarchic really, but the first question we ask is something like, is this just? Is this right? Is this okay? Rather than, is this profitable? Because in the world we've got now, it's all to do with instrumental reason, using others as resources and instruments. I would change that. We don't want to see each other like that, but that is a product of our value. So I would change fundamental values. That's what I'd change.
After the ALF released 5,000 mink into the British countryside, what lessons do you think have been learned, if any?
Yes, well, the release of minks have been very controversial within the ALF for many years. The lesson really would possibly be release them into the compound and destroy the cages and not release them into the environment. Because the sad fact is that most of them stay around the farm. Quite a lot of them get killed on the roads around because they're not used to traffic. In fact, the vehicles that they're used to, just crawl along usually. So they're just not used to traffic as we know it. And then if they do manage to spread elsewhere, then they find an environment full of free-living minks as well. So then they end up having to have fights with those and everything else. So possibly of all the ALF activities, the release of mink is the least well thought out in terms of its consequences. So I suppose the lesson is, bluntly, you could say don't do it or do it in a different way.
Have you ever crimped your hair?
I don't know whether it was crimped. I in the 70s, I had very long hair. In fact, I could reach around the back and grab my hair when I was at school. And so one time I did have a curly perm, Mark Bolan style, but I'm not quite sure if that's really crimping, but it was perming, I suppose.
What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
Yes. Well, that's for when I'm looking for the Holy Grail. Well, I believe you've got to be a king to know that, and because I'm not a king, I don't really know. So I have to pass on that, I'm afraid.
Who is your favourite musician or band?
It's Mark Bolan and T-Rex or Tyrannosaurus Rex in the early days, even John's Children in even the earlier days. And so I've always had a soft spot for T-Rex. If I had to analyse why, I'd have difficulty. It's just the vibe of it just suits me for some reason. I just love it, really.
Is there anything you would change about your past?
Yeah, well, that's actually a difficult question for me in the sense that, I come from a pretty dysfunctional family and, so I suppose my family relations have never been that good. I mean, I don't want to get into psychiatrist chair mode here, but again, I'm not quite sure whether I would change that in the sense that I don't believe in the ideology of the family either. But I suppose, my own relationship with my own children, for example, I would probably change things about that, if I'm honest. I've always been really involved so much with the movement. I suppose you could argue, and it would be true, that I've neglected other things. So I'd change that, but if I had to repeat it, I'd kind of still be as involved in the movement as I am now. So, yeah, as I said, it's not an easy question, that, for me.
What are you scared of?
I'm scared of a non-vegan world, possibly. I don't know. That's another difficult one. Yeah, I mean, I'm not scared of things like dying. I think I'm more scared of things like the process of it, and if it's going to be long times of pain and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to have a half pass on that one as well. Another difficult question, that one.
What is the weirdest thing you found in your garden?
Well, I don't have a garden, but there's a kind of communal garden outside, and there's a palm tree in it. Is that weird? I actually would say nowadays things like the lack of insects and bees is the weirdest thing, in the sense that I remember as a kid, finding newts and frogs, and I always had a thing about bulrushes and stuff. And I think that the change in that sense, that we seem to have done so much damage to the environment, that we seem to have lost so much. And I think that's possibly the answer. And that's probably a bit more serious than you expected, but that's it.
What gets you up in the morning?
Well, I suppose people are going to be glib and say alarm clock or something, aren't they, there? But I suppose my driving force is the movement, always has been. I always kind of tend to see the world through the lens of the animal movement. So that's it, really, in the sense that when I wake up, that's my first thoughts, kind of what is it today that I'm doing within the movement. So, yeah, it's this burdensome movement that I'm in. That's what gets me up in the morning and drives me to bed at night time.
That concludes the Arque Experience. Thank you, Roger.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much for having me.